Neighborhoods are places where the everyday practice of life occurs. In 2014, the Neighborhood and Community Services Department started planning a program that would help maintain the beauty, safety, and recreation of neighborhoods throughout the city. In this edition of Spotlight on Bowling Green, we'll explore the new Neighborhood Improvement Program.
For a long time, the city has wanted to do something different in our neighborhoods that would have a lasting, enduring impact. And over the years, we've researched to see what other cities have done. And we've came up with some ideas of how can we look at a particular geographic area and have a solid, comprehensive neighborhood impact.
The city is selecting one neighborhood at a time from the Bowling Green reinvestment area to invest in long-term improvements tailored to the specific need of each individual neighborhood. These improvements could come in the form of new sidewalks, park improvements, street improvements, or exterior property rehabilitation on homes or businesses.
So we've studied what other communities have done, what had worked for them, what hadn't worked for them, and that's where we came up with the idea of focusing in on a neighborhood for about a 2 to 3 year period and then moving to the next neighborhood. And we felt like in doing so, we could make impact, and we could make impact at a faster rate over time.
The Neighborhood and Community Services Department was tasked with picking the inaugural neighborhood for their new program.
When we started looking at what would be the neighborhoods we might start in, sort of the obvious choice became this Reservoir Hill area neighborhood where our department is located. And there were a lot of reasons for that, but what we started with was looking at some data about the neighborhood and some of the demographics and the kind of housing stock and other things that are particular to this particular census block group. And one of the things that we discovered, interestingly enough, is that this neighborhood where we're located, this Reservoir Hill area neighborhood, sort of serves as a microcosm for the city of Bowling Green at large. So if you look at some of the demographics of the entire city of Bowling Green and you look at things like income, age of the housing stock, and some of those things, this particular neighborhood matches very closely to what those things would be for the city of Bowling Green as a whole.
This neighborhood has seen a lot of transition. It's got close proximity to the university, but it's also close proximity to downtown, the medical complex. We felt like this was one of the very few neighborhoods where you could truly live, work, and play.
In order to choose which projects should be implemented in a given neighborhood, the city reached out to both residents and city employees.
We decide which projects to do in each neighborhood through a two-pronged approach. First, 2 cross-departmental teams of city staff members from Neighborhood and Community Services, Police, Public Works, and Parks and Recreation come through each individual neighborhood that is selected to determine what are the opportunities for improvements. These 2 teams will then develop a list of potential projects to present to the Neighborhood and Community Services Department staff for funding. Second thing the city does is we host an open house for all neighborhood residents to come and share their likes and dislikes about their neighborhood and what opportunities they see for improvements.
Because we wanted to start on a positive note as those people came in of what do you like about this neighborhood. And so we started to get a lot of sense of why people have pride in this neighborhood. And we asked them 3 simple questions. What improvements would you see in this neighborhood on public property? What improvements would you like to see on private property? And what other opportunities do you think are available in this neighborhood?
And then city staff from Neighborhood and Community Services Department then will take this information from the two-pronged approach and develop a list of projects to present to the City Board of Commissioners for funding approval.
After gathering information from multiple sources, a project list was formed to practically enhance the aesthetics, safety, and usability of the neighborhood.
After all that input was gathered, we sat down with our project teams, and I represented the citizen input side, and what we found was both wanted the same thing. So we took those project sheets and kind of grouped them into larger projects, and from that we developed a list of 6 projects that we wanted to undertake. First one being decorative improvements. We felt like that we needed to make some decorative improvements to the neighborhood. So what we're looking at doing is doing decorative signposts on 10th, 11th, and 12th. We're going to do some banners on 12th Street on Broadway as you come into the neighborhood, and also do decorative trash cans, mainly centered around the WKU campus to get to that pedestrian litter as people are going back and forth to class. The next one is safety improvements. So we're going to re-engineer the 10th and Cherry intersection to make that safer for both pedestrians and for vehicles. The next one is our sidewalk improvements. So this was actually split up into two parts. One is a new sidewalk project along Josephine and Lane, and that's about 350 to 400 feet of new sidewalk that was never there before. The other part of that is what we call spot rehab. And what we found was there was a lot of sidewalk in the neighborhood, but some of it was old, it was deteriorated. So what we did was we went in and cut out sections of broken sidewalk and put in new sidewalk. We replaced about 400 feet of just broken, damaged sidewalk in 12 different locations. So we felt like that was a really good impact for the amount of money that we were able to put into it, and we were able to repair a whole sidewalk network for just about $20,000. Another project that we're really proud of is the Reservoir Hill Park improvements. So Reservoir Hill is a mild passive historic park. There is a playground and a shelter. So what we're looking at doing is making some improvements to the park. It's going to have new walking paths. We're going to install a new transit shelter, repair the wall on 10th Street, improve the picnic shelter, and just add some investment back to the park to make it more user friendly. The biggest project that we're undertaking is the private property improvements program. And this is where we're putting the most amount of our money by far. And what we're going to do is do a cost match program with property owners. It doesn't matter if you're a landlord, a business, or a homeowner, we want you to make exterior property improvements. So what the city is willing to do is we're going to put $5,000 per property. If you're a homeowner, you're not going to have to match it with anything. We'll reimburse you $5,000 as long as you make repairs that are on our approved list, and they have to be exterior only. If you're a landlord, you got to pay 25%, we'll pay 75% up to $5,000. If you're a business, you have to spend $10,000, and we'll pay 50% or $5,000. And so what we really wanted to focus that in on is making exterior improvements. We saw a lot of things that weren't code violations, but being in an older neighborhood, just maintenance items that had just worn out. So it might be repainting a house, it might be cutting down trees, it might be paving a driveway, it might be demoing an old shed or old fence, just cleanup type things that might not hit on the code enforcement side, but are still an aesthetic improvement to the overall neighborhood.
Funding for these projects comes from both federal and local dollars.
The funding that comes for these projects is from Community Development Block Grant funding and City General Fund dollars. The city receives approximately $500,000 each year from the federal government to address community development and housing needs in the community. The city allocates 60% of that annual CDBG funding to the Neighborhood Improvements Program. And then also the city receives approximately $200,000 each year from the City General Fund for the program.
So we're able to use the federal money as well as the local money. So what that does is it gives us some flexibility. Some things might not be eligible on the federal side, so we can use our local funds to do that. It gives staff flexibility about going in and making the investments that we think are very vital to this neighborhood. We spent a considerable amount of time in planning. That did cause us some delays on the implementation side, but what we were able to get by making that investment in the planning side was what's called an NRSA from HUD. That's a Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy Area. And it was worth that time because what we ended up with was a lot of flexibility. And that's what we wanted in developing this program, was flexibility. We wanted to go into a neighborhood and say, you know what, this neighborhood needs this. And we wanted the flexibility to be able to deliver that resource to the neighborhood.
Neighborhoods are geographical units that are essential to people's lives. The City of Bowling Green recognizes that to have a strong city, they must invest in the neighborhoods that form it.
This has been something that has been needed for a while. We just needed to have the right mix of funding and people and vision to get this accomplished. We've seen our neighborhoods transition for a long time. We've seen people move out of neighborhoods, move to the county. So we felt like we needed to make investments in our neighborhoods to make it more marketable for people to want to live in the downtown environment, in this urban environment. We feel like if we improve our neighborhoods, we improve the overall quality of life for the City of Bowling Green. We make safer neighborhoods, we make safer properties, and overall the City of Bowling Green benefits from us making these investments in our neighborhoods.
The long-term goal of this program is to create a better residential environment and to create more economic opportunity in these selected neighborhoods, with the added goal of attracting new private investment into the neighborhoods. And this private investment could come in the form of new affordable housing or new businesses that could provide new services or new job opportunities for the neighborhood residents.
For a number of years, the city has just demonstrated its commitment to neighborhoods through a lot of different programs. But a major reason why we're engaged in this neighborhood improvement program is basically to demonstrate and kind of putting our money where our mouth is. And that is saying these are the ways that we want to invest neighborhood by neighborhood in the reinvestment area in ways that hopefully will have impact for the neighbors in reinvesting in infrastructure or reinvesting in projects that ultimately will help revitalize neighborhoods if they need it, or to help capture that momentum of neighborhoods as they revitalize and make them the quality places to live that we all want them to be.
For more information on this or any other Spotlight on Bowling Green, please call 270-393-3000.